And welcome to this episode of Season 6 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes guests as we have tonight, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late and much missed by us, John Popham. But as usual, we have a weather check first of all. And Sweyn, how's the weather where you are? Where are you this week?
I am in Kirkwall in Orkney as usual, and after a lovely, sunny and reasonably, well, very warm few days, it's been cooler today on Friday as we record this for Monday's show. But that's none the worse for that as a change. There's been no rain and it's not particularly cold, so it's been fine.
Great. And Florence Okoye is our special guest today. Florence, where are you and what's the weather like there?
Well, right now I'm in London and it is warm, but yeah, not as hot as it has been.
hmm Okay, well, here in the west of Ireland, where I am now, it has been very, very hot today. We really noticed it in the office, but cooler. Yeah, you can tell us a few degrees of temperature cooler than it has been during the week. But hopefully it'll last. Yesterday was Saint Swithin's Day for those of us who observe such things. And apparently, if it doesn't rain on St. Swithin's Day, we'll get good weather for 40 days. So here's hoping that'll well, for some of us that's a good thing. Florence, you're very welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you. We have a few dates and events to cover first, and then we'll come back and have the rest of the show with you, if that's okay. Great, thank you very much. So, Sweyn, what dates have you got for us today?
Well, today I have two dates, and the first of them is something called International Moon Day.
Hmm.
Is on Monday, the 20th of July, as this show goes out on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And the General Assembly of the United Nations, because it's a United Nations Day, declared uh, the 20th of July to be observed annually as the day for why can't I say any words? The General Assembly declared International Moon Day, a United Nations designated day, to be observed annually on the 20th of July in its resolution 76/76 on international cooperation in the peaceful uses of outer space in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
International Moon Day marks the anniversary as well of the first landing by humans on the moon as part of the Apollo 11 lunar mission in 1969. I remember that, I was three. Um, the celebrations will also consider the achievements of all states in the exploration of the moon and raise public awareness of sustainable moon exploration and utilization. Now, there's a thing to conjure with. Sustainable
Mm.
moon exploration. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Artemis 2, what we saw. Because this year, the Artemis 2 mission completed their historic flyby of the moon on the 1st to 11th of April.
Mm-hmm.
And the astronauts from the mission landed at UN headquarters in New York with a message that sounded like a reminder. Humanity is capable of extraordinary things when it acts together. So the background to all of this is that for thousands of years, human civilizations have looked up to the sky, pondering the origin and mysteries of the moon, our only natural satellite. Ground-based observations enabled by the invention of the first telescopes opened a new chapter in our understanding of our celestial companion. And with the birth of space activities, the moon became the ultimate destination of countless missions, including crewed flights that brought the first human footprints to another place in the universe. So that is International Moon Day. There's lots more to say about it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's probably enough. And the
Mm-hmm.
second date that I have is another United Nations Observation Day, and it happens on the 25th of July, which is towards the end of the week, and it's International Day for Women and Girls of African Descent. And the theme is Rising Together, Women and Girls of African Descent Leading with Strength. The woman and girl child of African descent embody strength, resilience, and untapped potential. Yet they remain among the most marginalized groups globally due to the intersection of racial, gender, and socioeconomic discrimination. From limited access to quality education and healthcare to underrepresentation in political and professional spaces, they often navigate systemic barriers that hinder their development and violate their rights. This is all written by the United Nations. Despite these challenges, they continue to rise, leading movements, excelling in academics and careers, advocating for justice, and breaking generational cycles of poverty and exclusion. Their lived experiences highlight not only the impact of injustice, but also the transformative power of opportunity and equity. And again, there's lots more to say about that, but I will leave it at that. And those are the dates that we have this week.
Great, great. Yeah, as you say, there is lots more about it, including a call to action. So
Yes.
great to see that happening. We do enjoy the UN days. They often make us think about things that we haven't thought about before, and good to bring them to people's attention. So for events, we have, I think it's it'll be just pick up two, I think.
3, I think.
3 or 3, yeah. I did because we like to include libraries. Okay, so the first of the events is on Friday the 7th of August. I went away for August since we finished. This is our last show for
Yes, last
the
show.
season.
Yes.
But here's some August events to keep people interested and entertained. Friday 7th of August. This is for Black Country residents only in the West Midlands in England. But it's other things, similar things probably happen around the country. This is called Hang, Chill, Learn and Thrive. And this is organised by our friends at Creative Active Lives, Rachel Connellis being the main instigator of that. They're hosting 3 sessions during the summer holidays exclusively for Autism West Midlands. So the sessions are suitable for autistic teens aged 13 to 17 who have an interest in console gaming, Minecraft, virtual reality, digital music production and art, Lego and/or board games.
Wow.
And Rachel says in the blurb, this is a great opportunity to connect with others who share similar interests in a safe, supported environment. Importantly, there's no pressure to interact, and teens are welcome to bring their own devices, earphones, games, comforts, and fidget items. And for health and safety reasons, they're asking the parents stay on site during the session. So, well done to Creative Active Lives for continuing to bring joy and happiness to so many people. I'm sure that's going to be a very well popular, very important
Yes,
and
it's great.
good event. And on Saturday, the 8th of August, from 1 to 3 p.m., I picked this one up because, as usual, I kind of search digital events, and digital is mentioned in this, but also zines. And I
Oh,
like
zines.
I like talking about zines because Florence and I first, or at least one of the first events that we went to together featured zine making. So harking back to that, but also I think it's the kind of thing John would have thought was a good idea to bring to
Yeah.
people's attention. So you're invited to come and join archaeologist Fran Mahan and artist Nick Fife for a zine making workshop and exhibition about history, heritage, and our rivers. And so some of the words linked to this: magazine, riverine, zine river, river zine. I think that's one of those thought processes that they went through to throw words down on the page. Anyway, um, they're about the rivers Foss and Ouse, and all welcome, no experience necessary. Fran's exhibition, Flooded Memories, the agency of the rivers Foss and Ouse, will serve as a launching point for Nick's zine workshop. Flooded Memories explores how the Foss and Ouse have affected and transformed our heritage for the last 2,000 years. From magical medieval swords to mouldy 19th century maps, the exhibition highlights how our rivers' waters have affected the things we can and cannot remember, know, and imagine about the past. Over the last, I'm sorry, lost my page place on the page now. We're both struggling a bit today, Sweyn. I think Nick's over the last few months, Fran has collaborated with York Rivers Trail to integrate some of his exhibition research into the digital trail, where users can access even more information about specific artifacts featured in the exhibition. Nick's zine workshop will help us think about how we live and interact with our rivers. Through cutting, collaging, and pasting together different images, texts, poetry, and art, we'll explore what our rivers mean to us and our past, present, and future in York. And they explain what a zine is. It's a small, self-published booklet of art, information, personal stories, and anything in between. By participating in the workshop, you'll be able to create your own zine and take it home with you, give to a friend or family member, or even trade it for a different zine. So you're asked to book a free ticket in advance to help manage attendance, and you're welcome to bring your own collage materials. And it explains a bit about the York Rivers Trail.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
that looks really
Our
interesting.
friend Leah Lockhart, who now lives in Glasgow, is a zine a zine maker,
Okay.
among many other things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
She
her
might
for
be
a while
interested
now,
in
but
that. Yeah. Yeah. No,
hope to do
zines.
so.
In Birmingham, there's been a zine festival off and
Mm.
on, and our friends at Civic Square, especially Bing, has been involved
It
in
feels very
organising
70s
them.
zines, but actually
I think
they've
they've had a
they've
revival.
gone they've continuously been around,
Yeah,
and I think they've had a bit of resurgence lately. When
absolutely.
I say lately, I'd say in 15 years.
Yeah,
That's
like
I'm
our
old
kind of
now, so
lately.
lately can
Yeah,
be 25 years.
yeah. Okay, so final event is library tours of the National Library of Scotland in Edinburgh,
I think we need to
and
start that
this
one
is
again, Pauline. You went quiet
oh sorry,
for some reason.
the final event is Welcome to the Library Tours, organised by the National Library of Scotland in Edinburgh. Is that
Hooray!
okay? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you ever wondered what the National Library does, you're invited to come along to one of their introductory tours to learn about their work and how we can help you. Join for a tour of the Visitor Centre of National Library Scotland at the George Fourth Bridge, where you'll discover some of the treasures that make the National Library of Scotland a cornerstone of Scotland's cultural heritage. Guides will introduce you to the story of the library's building and history, and you will learn about the library's role in preserving the nation's history. Find out how you can join the library, explore our collections, and use the library's resources in your life. And then after the tour ends, you can explore the shop, cafe, and exhibitions where you can view treasures from the collections, from rare manuscripts to contemporary digital archives.
Oh
So,
wow! I need to do that someday.
great to hear about that. Yeah,
I want to do that.
yeah. Well, I always want to visit a library. I always end up visiting libraries wherever I go. So,
Multiple dates, it says.
yes, exactly.
Mm.
So
You probably do them
ongoing.
every
Even
week
though
or
some at the
month.
end of July, I think. So,
Yeah. Good.
no excuse.
Good.
Okay, and so we bring the show to we bring to the show our very special guest for this evening. Sorry, say this evening because we're recording on Friday evening for the Monday broadcast. Florence Okoye is a qualitative researcher, a UX designer at the National History Museum, a digital strategist, and a trustee. Florence's expertise lies in combining human centered design methodology with techniques from speculative and critical design practice to create and evaluate user interactions, information architecture, and underlying processes. Florence has designed apps and software UI for sectors ranging from culture and heritage to utilities, digital publishing, to cybersecurity, as well as on a consultancy basis for startups and small to medium enterprises. Florence works closely with users and stakeholders, sometimes even at the same time, through interviews and collaborative design sessions, understanding mental models and ways of working before creating workflows, wireframes, and rapidly iterated prototypes for user testing and feedback. One of Florence's additional roles is as a founding member of Afrofutures UK, an interdisciplinary research and arts organisation which aims to encourage participation in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics amongst BAME youth, black and minority ethnic youth. The program of events includes free conferences, workshops, exhibitions, and screenings. And this was an organisation set up in 2015 as a place where people who were interested in exploring new black futures could come together, learn new skills, and share ideas. And the ambition was to create an umbrella under which radical black makers could co-create new ways of being through multimedia and disruptive technologies. In 2018, they went into fallow mode to recuperate and nourish themselves while also supporting other initiatives around the UK. There's a lot of work to do, says the blurb, and we need to make sure we have the right skills and approaches to do it. From 2023, the focus was on creating infrastructure for communities. The organisation is at the moment, and maybe Florence can update us on this, self-funded, so they can't provide funds, but they can still contribute social and creative support. So Florence, very welcome to the show. How are things going with Afrofutures at the moment? I'm dying to know.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Yeah, how are things going with Afrofutures UK? Well, the main thing at the moment, that I'm very kind of happy to say is we're currently working on a really cool project with the a group called Sustainable AI Futures. It's a research group. At some point, I'll put a link in the chat as well for
Mm,
sharing, perhaps on the podcast blurb.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, University of Sussex, kind of there's one of the researchers is kind of convening a group of like other researchers and creatives and good people and interesting people. And it was a multi-year, it is a multi-year project. I think it comes to an
Mm,
end like next year.
hmm
Um, Really looking at that intersection of sustainability and AI. Um, and that's been a really lovely opportunity. So the Afrofutures UK, the collective now slightly older, slightly more weathered, more worn, and slightly a bit more. Yeah, we kind of regrouped, as it were. We really took this as an opportunity to come together again and start
Yeah.
working together again. So yeah, we're currently working on we hosted a workshop of gosh, like 2 months ago, I think, at the University of Sussex. And we're working on kind of what we're calling a bit of a world building, like speculative solution architecture for what um, a sustainable and holistically designed infrastructure
Ooh.
for not, I mean, we say AI, but obviously we mean that in the broadest possible sense. It's like any
Mm.
data-centric technology because
So when you
LLMs, like, yeah, sorry, go for it, Swain.
when you say infrastructure, what do you mean? Do you mean the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure for AI, or is it something else?
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of everything, but it is
Hmm.
a bit more focused on the technical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we're very much thinking about, you know, given what we know and where we're at with the climate, and given the nature of digital technologies, right? Like they've always, I think it's really interesting with AI, how I think there's a lot more awareness, how it's led to a lot more awareness about the intersection of the digital and the physical as a whole.
Mm.
Because a lot of the issues actually with AI, or certainly let's talk about large language models, like this current phase of like AI as it's become the popularized type.
Hmm
A lot of those issues actually are issues that have always been really major issues with
Mm,
digital technologies altogether. Like in some
absolutely.
ways, they're just the same issues, kind of just exacerbated. But if I'm absolutely honest, I'm not in. I think they're really bad, but I think they're kind of like, again, they're actually really fundamental problems with the internet and with
mm
Yeah.
digital technologies.
mm
So we're kind of using this as an opportunity to like, take some time together and think, okay, what could a technical and a socio-technical infrastructure look like? I come from a UX and service design and a bit of solution architecture background. One of the other members is a web developer, a very critical kind of full stack web developer. Another of our members is a poet, our griot, as we like to call her,
mm
and it has this amazing way of like of of kind of like encapsulating complexity
Hmm.
within her words. And I was like, this is exactly how all requirement documents should be written, quite frankly. And then the kind of the fourth member, who's also part of this group, is a visual and a narrative, a visual storyteller. And so
mm
very much all together, we're like, well,
Wow.
this is basically a way of like both kind of communicating requirements and showing, maybe even thinking about design stories and how you communicate what a technology should be in a much more holistic way
Yeah.
if you have all these skills in the mix. So that's what we're
Yeah.
currently working on.
Wow.
mm
So
Really
it's actually
interesting.
very good timing. Like we are
Yes.
actually out of fallow mode. So yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. How many more people are involved then? Because it was quite a small, kind of leadership group when I knew of it, several years ago now. Who else is involved now?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I would say it's still very small. I think what's happened is that like because when it first started, we were always like we just want Afrofutures UK to almost be a badge that anyone who is interested, like has our same values and
Mm,
is interested in this kind of stuff, we can just come together as and when we're available, as and
mm,
when we need. So actually, in some ways, it's both still a very, very small group and a very, very big group because it's basically like who is available, who would be
mm,
interested
Yeah.
in this.
mm,
Right now, there's four of us working
mm,
on this, but I know, and I don't know if this had happened at another point of time, it might have just been one person. At another point of time, it could have been 10 people. So, but for now, it's like four of us working on it
hmm
together.
hmm Great. Okay, so that's like one part of you as a person. What about how else you okay, and Swain's sharing the link to the website on the screen. I don't know if that's been updated recently, or
Yes.
if it's, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay, great, good to. Oh yeah, I see stuff about your sustainable AI futures there. Brilliant. Afro Dino Hack. Oh, let's not get drawn into
Afro
that
Dino
way too
Hack.
soon.
What's
Don't want
that
to
all
peak
about?
too soon. Is that linked to the other work that you do?
Yeah,
Oh
yes, that
wow.
yeah, that is. It is. I think because well, my background was kind of always in, especially when it comes to community center design. It was actually in like science communication and
Mm,
citizen science. And so I'm always trying to keep connected to those roots, but it's the kind of thing that
mm,
I guess to do the sort of work I need, as always, to do the sort of work I wanted to do, I always felt I needed a lot more skills and I just couldn't quite do it. But I just try to do that however I can. Now I'm
mm,
working at the Natural History Museum. Yeah, I am very much just, making the most of that opportunity. And it means the fact that I have access to some of like the world's greatest like
Wow,
current
yes.
scientists in certain
Great.
areas, it's like, well, let's do this then.
absolutely.
And there's some of the like most as well as being brilliant, some of the kindest, most generous people that you could ever hope to meet.
Mm,
And so yeah, that's kind of how Afro Dino Hack was sort of born. It was like, okay, I'm here. There's all these really cool and lovely people who want to get their stuff out there in different ways. Let's do this.
mm. Do you
Wow.
want to say a bit more about it? Has it happened? Is it happening?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to be so again, that's one of those things where I wouldn't say it went fallow, but I went through a lot of like learnings, I guess, because it's not exactly niche. Like every time I talk about it within like different Black communities, it's always a thing that's very interesting and people are really up for it and really into it. But so for some reason, we never, to begin with, I never had very good luck with like events or anything. Like it was really difficult to get people to like turn up, and some of it that was just
Wow.
about marketing because it was just me
Mm,
really, and
mm,
and and
mm,
I was really not exactly young, but that was when I was just I didn't want to I don't know. I wanted just to get things done, and I didn't want to take too much of anyone's time, and I didn't know how to explain it. And anyway, so it's always kind of been there. It's been there for quite a while actually, but the very first event was a complete dud in many ways, and that really made me completely rethink everything. It yielded something, but it just wasn't what. Yeah, it
Hmm.
was
mm,
a very interesting experience. Um, and then a colleague of mine at the Natural History Museum a while back, she started something called like the Explorers Festival, which is where she'd have like specific weekends. Nuzhat Tabassum, and again, I'll
mm,
put her contacts in the
mhm,
in the chat for later. She's amazing. And she'd do these things like Explorers Festival, where for one particular weekend, it's like family-centered events looking at natural history from a particular cultural and
Is it,
marginalized cultural perspective. And they were really
was
great.
that in the museum?
Yeah, that was at the
Yeah.
Natural
mm,
History
mm,
Museum.
Yeah.
Really fantastic program. And for one of them was centered on like the Black perspective, so African, Afro-Caribbean, African diasporic, and yeah, so we kind of rejuvenated Dino Hack for that. And actually, even before then, there's a really amazing guy in Birmingham called Juice Alim. Pauline, you might remember him. He's the founder of Afroflux. He's an amazing
mm,
like
mhm,
Afrofuturist and very community minded and centered, and I mean just amazing. He gets things
mm.
happening. So we had an event where we actually introduced some kids to like Scratch as a coding tool,
Okay.
and talked about and had really really cool with conversations with families about like you know paleontology and like colonialism and science
Oh,
communication
Cool.
and inclusivity.
Cool.
So it has been it's not as like it's a slow and steady thing.
Mm.
I think really I just need to get off or just to pluck up the courage and do like a funding bid or something and then
I
do it
think, yeah,
properly.
I
But
think there's definitely, yeah, and because what occurs to me is that when I worked for Northfield Community Partnership last year, up to last year, we did a beach event every year because we brought the beach to an inner city because people couldn't get away on holidays, they couldn't afford it. And one of the most popular things every single year were the dinosaurs. Now, obviously, they weren't real dinosaurs, let's face it, but models of dinosaurs, people, kind of bring in noise and stuff like that to kind of local inner city families. It just went down a storm. Absolutely, overwhelmingly the best part for many people of this 5-day beach festival, which is happening again this year at the end of July. So yeah, absolutely a winner every time. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, absolutely encourage you to go for it.
What
Um,
what is Scratch? A coding thing?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a type of programming language and a kind of a programming interface wherein I mean it's very much aimed at like younger people, but
Hmm.
anyone really. And it's like a visual way of communicating how code works. So you have these like blocks, each of which represent a certain thing that code can do. So
Hmm.
maybe it represents like a repetition loop, or
Hmm.
maybe it represents moving in a certain direction or making a certain sound, or, all the kind of things that you can do
Hmm.
like in JavaScript or HTML, but they've kind of chunked them up into these blocks. And so what you can do is you can piece them together and you're basically writing like a bit of software,
Yeah,
but using like blocks of code rather than actually having to literally type out the code, especially, yeah, which is great if you don't know the syntax just yet.
yeah.
mm. It was one of the tests that you used to be asked to do if you were applying to join the School of Code in Birmingham, in the West Midlands, and they do other parts of the country now as well, and elsewhere, European Union, I think. Um, where you had to, create something using Scratch, and I tried twice and I failed to get through. So, um, but then,
Dear me.
wasn't my skill set. But anyway, so I was aware of it from that. So I know it's used by, coding schools to kind of suss out if people's
Well,
natural
I think I found the
proclivities.
homepage for it, and it's in the show
Oh
notes.
yeah, is that the right one,
I think
Florence?
that's what I'm sharing.
That looks
Yes, I
right.
think that does
Yeah,
look
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
MIT.
I'm sure it's the kind of thing that Rachel Connolly would use with Creative
Yes.
Active Lives, actually. So yeah, we might get
No,
Rachel on again at some
I hadn't
stage.
heard of it before, but it looks interesting.
Very good. So Florence, let's go back to the early days. You're a junior, whatever. What did you study, and how did you get into the field that you're in now?
Oh, yeah, what story? So I studied physics, theoretical physics at University of
Ah,
Manchester. And I graduated. I didn't get the degree that I wanted. I really wanted to, the dream had always been, oh, I'll become a scientist. I'll go and become a physicist and do something interesting. And I just, yeah, I didn't get the degree I needed to be able to get to go to do a PhD. And also, quite frankly, I'd had such an odd experience of university in general.
mm,
I just knew I had to not exactly toughen myself up, but I really had to figure out, like, because I'd seen what doing a PhD costs
Hmm.
people and how stressful it can
Absolutely.
be. And you really need that focus, which I just didn't. I was still too interested in everything. Like, that's weirdly why I became a physicist. I wanted to become a physicist because I was
mm,
like, I'm interested in everything. So
Hmm.
the only thing to study is the root of everything, and then I can
Hmm.
apply it to everything, which is still very much how I think about things. Um, but then, yeah, when it came to that point, I was like, well, if I want to do a master's, I still kind of need to have a sense of what it is that I'm interested in. And
Hmm.
I'm just still too interested in too many different things. I just need to get out. And like I said, also,
That's not a great start for a PhD, is it, to be interested in a wide range of things?
yeah,
You've got to
absolutely
find your
not.
little thing
yeah,
to focus on for at the risk of your sanity and your viability as a human, to spend 4 to 7 years just getting narrower and narrower and narrower. Yeah, I
yeah.
could never have done a PhD.
Mm,
Oh,
Never in a
that,
million years.
yeah, no, it was absolutely, absolutely that, So I was just like, well, okay, so then I need a job. I need to earn a living. Um, and the one transferable skill I had was C++ programming, because at least with theoretical physics, some of the experiments you'd love to do, you can't physically do. Some of them are just literally impossible. You can't build a whole new universe. Sorry. I know who'd have thought, like, oh, if only the ESRC would give the funding for that. Anyway, never mind. But yeah, you can't build a whole new universe, apparently.
mm,
And even the ones that you can build are really expensive. It's really expensive to build another CERN. So you get taught skills that mean you can basically model stuff
Yeah.
and use that to figure out the likeliness of certain things happening. And so because of that, I was able to, like, I joined a graduate training scheme eventually and joined as a junior software developer. So I was trained up in some other languages as well, very basically, and then was sort of shunted out to different companies, different
Mm.
organizations. And I was incredibly lucky because you had to basically, whatever was given to you, or whatever interview you passed, you had to take. You didn't have a choice beyond, really. And I was incredibly lucky that like the job I got into was at National Grid. So it was a
Mm.
mixture of
Oh,
like, yeah, semi-public
Yeah.
sector,
wow.
not gambling, quite frankly, because there was plenty of those companies still
Yeah.
looking,
Yeah.
for tech skills and whatnot. And in energy, and it's still related to engineering. And yeah, I was like, wow, I'm really,
Mm.
really fortunate. So I joined what was called at the time the mobility team. So it was the team that was looking into creating apps and things for the engine, especially for the engineers, to be honest, not so much for the end users or the customers. And again, again, I was just very, very fortunate, very blessed. I got an amazing mentor called Nick Lyon. He's like this really amazing, he came up from like solution architecture and like yeah, no, he was just really, really awesome. And he was basically the one who was kind of doing a mix of like human-centered service design, start type solution architecture sort of thing in that mobility team. So through
So who
that,
are the engineers for the National Grid? What do they do?
so they're the folks who are doing inspections.
Hmm.
So, the big pipes that sometimes you see embedded into the
Hmm.
banks as you're on a train sometimes. Some of them are transmitting all sorts of things.
Mm.
So they're the engineers who might be doing inspections on those on things that transmit things like that give us energy or that we
Yeah.
burn or whatever. They're also I mean, there's different areas of National Grid. So different.
Hmm.
So some people deal with the electric side, others more with the gas side, others with the renewable energy side. And even within those, you'll have different layers. Like some people are the ones who are really working at the stations, like at the power stations,
Yeah.
and then others are other types of stations. Others are engineers who are working more directly with paying customers. And so what that meant, but because everyone at that time, so what's that? So I graduated 2012, and so this job was around 24, 13, 14.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
around this time, apps were still kind of a big thing, and everyone's really, everyone had to build an app for everything. Um, and so, and so it meant, I know it's so strange sometimes. I look back to the things I've
We
seen
need an
already in my
app.
time.
Yeah.
That's how it feels with tech. It's really
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Um, and so yeah, we were just kind of, and it was a new team as well. That was also really exciting.
Right.
So they were still trying to kind of show the value of having a dedicated team that focused on mobile apps and
Mm.
the also kind of the infrastructure to allow mobile apps to happen. Because like a lot of my those initial because it was a 2 year program.
I'm looking at your
Mm,
LinkedIn page,
mm,
and I'm seeing you're a UX consultant with the mobility team, blah blah blah. It
mm.
says onboarding and gameplay workflow for National Grid branded game app Grid Mania.
Oh, woo.
Yeah, that
That
was like
sounds amazing.
it was my first foray into yeah, and it went at like so many of these really great ideas. I don't think it actually went anywhere because the actual fundamental game was never made. I just remember again being that cute little junior with the
Yeah,
bright eyes.
yeah,
You're sort of like, oh, we're thinking of making a game.
yeah.
And then I remember making some demo sprites and maybe like a bit of a like
I
a
would love to see a National Grid branded game called
Mhm.
Grid Mania make the
I
mainstream. I
I
think it'd
still
be
think it has
great.
potential. I
Yeah,
think it has
Yeah.
absolutely,
potential. So
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So yeah, so there was a lot of that kind of stuff, and then also, doing helping out with apps for the engineers, like
Mm.
to help them track when an incident had happened,
Mm.
how they would like report back on it, how they'd mark
Yeah.
anyway. And to be honest, I think the thing that I really learned from that was a deeper an obsession kind of with solution architecture. It's a bit weird. I
Hmm.
didn't end up going into solution architecture. I think I was still scared of doing exams, and I was just like,
Mm.
I don't want to. And you did
Yeah,
quite a few
I have that
exams
too.
actually.
Yeah.
I have that too.
And at that time, though, UX, well, it wasn't even really properly called UX, to be
No.
honest, all the time. And it seemed this really nice intersection of data, so I could still keep my analysis skills from the
Hmm.
physics
Mhm.
sharp,
Mhm.
talking to people, doing different types of research.
Hmm.
So that meant I could bring in the creative bit and do qualitative style research as well. At that time anyway, still actually very, very technical. Like, you were expected, certainly in a place like that, you were expected to understand what an API was. You expect because
Mm.
all of the stuff goes into what an interface is. You weren't, it was a very, if I'm honest, it's one of the things I think is slightly missing from a lot of the way UX is talked about in a
Hmm.
mainstream sense.
Hmm.
I think we tend to think about UX still at quite an interface down way, whereas I was very much taught from an infrastructure up way. And that has been incredibly important for all of my
Wow.
work going
Yes.
forward.
Mhm.
You
Anyway,
kind of
so,
need both, don't you, really?
oh yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely need, you do
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely need both.
I
Um,
really haven't thought of it. Oh, interesting. Very
But I
interesting.
think coming from that infrastructure upway also meant that like I would think about the social infrastructure
Hmm.
as well. So I'm not just simply talking about the technical
Hmm.
stuff. When you were trained in that way, you started realizing, for example, how important it is to understand how people within a business are working together,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
example, and understanding how to ask those questions and almost how to play like the holy fool. That's the other thing I
Yes.
learned about UX. Like you kind of have
Yes.
to play that role a lot. It
Mm.
actually doesn't help to it's good to show that you know how to do UX and all the good terms, but a lot of the time, actually, you don't want to show that you've had too much experience. You actually want to be the one that everyone feels they can tell how it really is. You know what I mean? Like,
I
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
you're reminding me of something. I have an IT background in sort of corporate IT, and I had this notion of IT as therapy
mm,
Mm.
because you arrive at someone's, just whether you're fixing their printer or fixing a
Mm.
software problem or whatever, you arrive as an outsider into somebody's life, and they hope you can help them. And
Mm.
quite often you find yourself in conversations about what they're doing and why it doesn't
Mm.
work and what could be better and so on and so on and so on. So it's really interesting that you say that about this kind of social side of
Mm.
UX, because that reminds me very much of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so much of it is that, and the sociology as well. I mean, it was a good thing. In fact, I came into UX at that time, especially having come from, yes, a science background, but very much
Mm.
interested in community science and how regular people get access to science and for themselves, because then that naturally led to kind of where UX was at still, because it was still quite
Hmm.
new and figuring
Hmm.
itself out. Yeah, and then after that,
Mm.
I left National Grid because I was like, well, I've been kind of looked after quite a bit by,
Mhm.
my amazing mentor. I want to see if I can actually do this thing by myself. So that's why I got into cybersecurity properly. That was
Mm.
the next role I
Oh
did,
wow. Yeah.
with a really cool company based in Cheltenham,
Mm.
which was a very, very good experience. Although I will say, again, being not young, but inexperienced in this kind of thing, I did that thing wherein you go for an interview where the weather is really good and everything is working really well, it's really lovely, and you're so taken with it, you kind of forget the fact that like it actually was like a 3 hour journey to get from your
Mm.
house to the company.
Oh,
And I remember
God.
taking, and when I got offered the job, I was just so happy. I think that, I can actually, I'm clearly good enough. And of course, the journey from where I was living at the time to Cheltenham, what of
Mm.
it? I could get there. That was the point.
Yeah.
And then a year of that, I think that definitely almost demolished any any means of being able to wake up early. So after doing that job, I was like, I cannot wake up early anymore. I was literally having to get up at like 4 sometimes to get
Oh,
like
Oh
the
God.
first or the second train
no,
from the
Oh,
town I
no,
was
Florence.
living.
no,
Oh.
no.
And then obviously having to get, you'd end up getting
Mm.
home really late.
Mm.
And
Mm.
Mm.
but it was a great job. But like I said, the cost
Yeah.
was that like
Yeah.
none of my first thing in the morning meetings for me, first thing in the morning is still around 11 because it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, I can't. My brain was like, enough. We've done
Mm-hmm.
it. Paid our dues.
But
Anyway.
cybersecurity is a fascinating subject to go into from the point of view of user
Mm,
UX, because such a lot of what you're told and advised to do is incomprehensible gobbledygook in cybersecurity, and anything that can make it more kind of usable by vaguely normal human beings
Mm.
is great. Yeah.
It sounds like a perfect combination, really. There can't have been too many people like you with those skills and that understanding.
I think it definitely helped, like
Mm,
coming
Mm,
from that. So knowing how to speak the technical speak and
hmm.
how
yeah.
to present UX in a way that was still like, this is just as important as like the yeah, actually building the software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is, in fact, it's part of the software and actually, and although I will say, I think that was also the first point I really realized I had been very much coddled because I was going into a place where, you know, UI and UX was still thought of as quite interface first. And I definitely learned some very good lessons about like, you know, how about just all well maybe because it differs from team to team and people to person. But I definitely learned that like for people who maybe were expecting UX to be very much like which is very important. Please, I don't want to ever sound like I'm saying UI or whatever isn't important.
Mm,
That's absolutely not what I'm
Hmm.
saying. But I
Hmm.
think for
Hmm.
people who were expecting like the conversation to be at that
Hmm.
level of, you know, I want the fonts, I want this size, I want these shades, I want this. Like I remember even just saying things like how could I go and sit in on meetings with like clients or like
mm,
just go to where the customers are. Like that was really tricky because I think
Yeah.
there was a concern that I'd almost be doing something like marketing. Again, it was like this whole thing with marketing and sales. They're like, oh, we don't
mm,
need someone who just keeps asking people what they want because then we just get another bunch of things we have to code. And I'd be like, I mean, even if I am asking that as a researcher, it wouldn't be in a way that means that
Yeah.
I'd be
mm,
suggesting that's what we'll be building.
mm,
Like,
yeah.
but so there
Yeah.
was a whole bunch of things that I was like, ah, yeah, I really was quite looked after actually, and I was right to leave National Grid when I did.
Mm,
But it was fun.
mm.
Yeah.
And so then you went on to this information risk management organization, and I just looking at as well as Swain at your LinkedIn profile, you are still a visiting lecturer at the University of the Arts London. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, do you know, I need to actually make sure that's updated. So, because I was until quite recently.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Oh, yeah, no. So that was a lot of fun actually. Again, so that was gosh, do you know, this is one of the lovely things about tech for social good. Like you end up just meeting really great people in really
Yeah.
interesting ways.
Yeah.
And I think because we're all slightly off the the official path in some ways. We have different ways of looking at things. And also I've noticed everyone in tech for social good doesn't mind doing the extra work. Like
Yeah.
we all talk about self-care and we're good at that, I think. We're much better at that, I think, as well. But we like doing extra things because
Yeah,
it's
we do.
important and it's how
We
to
do.
get this stuff
Hmm.
across.
Hmm.
So I've forgotten exactly how I met. So Peaks Craft, that's the name of the academic. I think they're now University of Edinburgh,
Mm,
and they got me involved as part of like a feminist coding course. And so that yeah, I got to give some lectures in kind of like UX service design, a mishmash of the two, but from that
Yeah.
critical perspective, you know,
excellent.
in a
So,
practical way though. Yeah.
yeah, but very important for you to meet for other people to see where what they could do with the tools that you're so familiar with.
Yeah.
Because I think it's always good in an academic sense to see somebody who's actually applying what you're learning because then
Yeah.
you have some practical content to that.
Mm.
And I see also then you are you still a trustee for the Norwich Printing Museum?
I am, yeah. So that's definitely still happening, and
Okay.
that's a lot of fun. So that's very much my attempt at taking a slightly more senior, more strategic role for digital,
Mm,
and the kind of long standing because it's different when you're a consultant or when you're kind of paid to like look at something, have a think about it, chat with people, and then but actually having to be in the weeds and
yeah.
working with like a group of people and like yeah. So I was like, "Do you know what? Let's actually do this. We need that experience. And I also wanted to get trusteeship experience. Yeah, like for a whole bunch of different reasons. And I've actually always been passionate about museums.
Mm,
And so when it's an organization, Olmec is the name of the organization. They did some training called Black on Board. So that's kind of to increase the representation
I've
of
seen
Black
that.
and
Yeah.
marginalized ethnic folks who are
Mm,
trustees. Um, and it was one of those things. I very much believe that if you're thinking about something and an opportunity comes up to do that, then that's an interesting coincidence. Take
that's the
hold of that
universe
into, and
talking.
it was
Yeah.
one of those moments. I
Yeah.
was like, I need to get into shape and be a trustee and learn some proper leadership things, have some difficult, get into it, and then suddenly hey, there's this training, Black on Board is available. It's going to start. And I was like, oh, okay.
I always say to people who ask me about being a trustee,
Mm,
yes, it's and a digital trustee particularly. Yes, it's great to bring your digital and data skills to an organization, but you must care about the subject because
Yes,
things can get
yes,
very slow and very monotonous, and you think nothing's ever going to change. And if you don't care about the subject, then
yeah,
all the skills in the world aren't going to save you from the
exactly.
boredom and the kind of we did that 10 years ago and it didn't work, type moments. So
honestly,
well done.
yeah,
Well done
no,
to you.
100%.
Yeah. So
Um,
were you recruited as
yeah.
a digital trustee or um were you just recruited as a trustee per se?
No, yes, I was just recruited as a trustee, but because
Mm,
obviously I don't live in Norwich, I'm quite a distance away to actually, and because it's the thing I specialize in, I was like, well, let me just at least focus, and I learned by that point how important it can be, especially as someone who's interested in everything.
mm,
Also,
Hmm.
if you have an opportunity to focus, again, just for me, because I'm the kind of person who's interested in everything, when I also have the opportunity to just focus, I've learned just to take it.
Take
So
that chance. Take that chance. Yes. Goodness me, yes.
so
I mean,
I yeah.
there's a lot of talk these days about the value of generalists, and I think that is
Mm,
absolutely right.
mm,
But equally, it's good to just do something
yeah,
a little while. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
you're also a trustee for Mahogany Opera.
Yes, and that's kind of in a similar capacity as well. So it's a very I'm glad actually I went for both of them. And obviously that's my absolute limit. Like there's absolutely no way to be able
Mm,
to do more than
yeah,
that.
that's plenty.
Yeah. But and it's a very different scenario. Whereas the Norwich Printing Museum, actually, I think it's worth saying this because you never know who's listening and who might be
Mm,
interested also. A lot of these small organizations, charities, museums, what have you, can be in very different places. So like with the Norwich Printing
Mm,
Museum, I am effectively kind of acting well, at my best. I mean, right now, for example, I've had to stop some things because there's other things that need to be focused on. But we're all kind of senior managers in a
mm,
sense. We're that kind of trustee. Whereas
mm,
at Mahogany Opera, the setup is quite different. They've already got like a core team, a paid core team that does the leadership. They've got someone who's in, CEO. It's fine. So the trustees then are much more for the oversight and like checking on
yeah.
documents and things like that.
Mm,
Yeah. And again, I try to, it's for you look over everything, but I try to be very specific, um, and focus on anything that's like digital and try to give my
mm,
expertise
yeah.
there.
mhm.
Have you um
Mm.
have you done any performing, by the way? I've never asked you about this. Are
Oh
you kind of backstage or on stage?
yeah. Yeah, on
Oh
stage.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Yay.
For my sins. Oh, do you know what? Everyone has a secret sordid past. And so this might be, you know, but maybe by saying this, people can understand, can say like, do you know what? We don't have to listen to a word she says as she does this stuff. But I'm one of those weirdos who really loves Gilbert and Sullivan, and so yeah, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, good.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'm going to tell you, I have a part-time job as a court officer in Kirkle Sheriff Court in
Oh,
Orkney. Sheriff
oh,
Court is the same as a magistrate's court, okay?
yeah, yeah.
And local people did a production of Trial by Jury in the
Eh,
courtroom.
oh, that's so
Ooh,
cool.
nice one.
Also,
Now,
one of my friends from a long time ago, David Fiddler, he was very enthusiastic about Gilbert and Sullivan, but he was also enthusiastic about the plays written by Gilbert was the word guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He wrote all sorts of plays, straight play, well, comedy plays,
Mm.
weird
mm,
plays,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's great. That's
Oh, that's
great.
fantastic. Yeah, no, Yeah, so that's my performing side, I guess.
Okay, so you've
Yeah.
been on the stage as who or what? In what?
Oh
In
no,
which
no,
ones?
no, I'm a chorus. I'm a
Oh, I
chorus
see. Okay,
girly. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but on
Yeah.
stage still.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Good. I always managed to stay backstage. Stage management, certainly. I think I did one performance once. Yeah, we won't talk about that. But it's great to be involved in something. I mean, was it Amdram? Was it kind of people who weren't getting paid for the work? They were
Oh,
just for
oh
the
yeah,
love
no,
of
no,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
jam.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
You're gone mute, Swain, whatever you're saying.
really,
There you are now. Yeah,
oh,
Yeah, we're
I'm,
back. Yeah.
yeah.
am I crabbling? Okay. I genuinely find it one of the best ways of switching off from everything else
Mm.
because you absolutely have to just concentrate on what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
nothing, you can't have anything else in your mind really. And I just find it great from that point
yeah,
of view. Just kind of,
absolutely. Which brings us
Yeah.
up to kind of the present day, Florence, and your current work at the Natural History Museum. What
mm,
does kind of an average day look like? Day, week, month, shall we say? Because I'm sure, you plan ahead lots of things.
Mm. I mean, yeah, so okay, let's take right now, for example. There's a lot of data analysis,
hmm
because I got really interested in like not just how we understand users, but kind of how and if actually we can connect that kind of data with like more, I suppose, macro scale data. So you've got like the things that you might get from surveys, but can we see any behaviors in things like the big customer data sets that often get interpreted through things like Power BI and stuff like that. So that's
hmm
kind of the thing which, I mean, I'm always one for a challenge, and it's definitely a habit of mine giving myself a challenge that I don't exactly regret, but sometimes I'm a bit like past Florence. What was going on at that
Let's
time?
let one of these go by, shall we?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of
Yeah.
like Excel wrangling and a lot of trying to learn Power
Oh, wow.
BI.
So when you
Um,
say users, do you mean visitors to the museum or academics or
oh,
everyone?
so at the
Staff?
moment, visitors to the museum.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm particularly focusing on right now. And as well as doing some really like I'm also doing some like preparatory research for another project that I've literally really only just started. So there's a whole thing about like the entry experience, visitors' entry experience.
Mm.
So I've been doing a lot of like trying to do as much of a literature review as I can, and like just digging into the world of like, yeah, just I mean, it's actually really, really interesting because one of the things you find is the similarities across different sectors. So I've started doing a lot of reading into like airport like self-service check-in, for example, because there's some
Okay, yeah.
interesting
Yeah,
similarities. It's like
yeah.
it's another form of crowd flow
hmm
management, really, in a
hmm
way,
hmm
and how you use and the challenges with that.
hmm
That's been very useful, as well as more traditional like museum like entry design studies.
Mm.
So a lot of data wrangling and then talking to people, um, analyzing like the interviews that you do. I always try to find like creative ways of doing it, mostly because I don't want to get bored. So I always try to find some slightly different approach to things. Yeah, so that's kind of journey mapping, a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's the sort of thing that tends to be done a lot,
Wow.
as
Yeah,
well
Mm.
that's
as the
great.
You're
visual
part of
design.
a team? How big is the team?
Yes, I am. So the team is so it's made up of like there's oh that's yeah because actually we've had some changes as well. So we've got like a UX lead. There's at the moment four UX designers, kind of looking across well three technically UX designers, but there's another role that hasn't quite been taken just yet, but probably will be. Um, all looking after specific products. There's also like a UI designer role that's also currently empty. Um, and then we work with like the four product teams. There's also a head of product as well as the data teams and like content designers. Yeah. So it's like a whole, but
Wow.
it's a whole
Yeah.
thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
All behind the scenes. And what do you enjoy most about the museum, working in the museum?
Mm. I mean, it's very, very cool being able to just like walk around in the museum.
I bet.
Um, I always make the joke that like it's a really good place for perspective as well. So if you have a very stressful meeting, there's nothing better than walking out, let's say, to the geology space
Mm.
and like you encounter things that are like a billion or 2 years old, and you're like, ah, it's okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Like literally, it's all good.
Yeah.
Or like some dinosaur that died in a horrific way that we know because you can see like a bite mark on it or something. And you're just like, do you know what? As bad as things are, I am not being torn to pieces by a Do you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then also seeing kids and seeing like the next generation of enthusiasts and seeing and you're just like, yeah, that's what this is for.
Yeah.
So that's really
Yeah.
cool. And then also the nature of the projects you can work on, you can often really see directly the impact that you can make
Mm.
um, on visitors and
Mm.
on even people who can't visit physically or
Yep.
financially or for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, you also get to meet really, really amazing people. Like it's not an exaggeration to say like some of the researchers and scientists, some of them are like the not exactly the only specialist in the world, but one of the few specialists in a particular
Mm-hmm.
area. And I'm always myself so humbled by how open they can be.
Mm.
Like they're really
Yeah.
busy, very, very stressed. It's
Yeah.
actually quite a
Mm-hmm.
hard job being a research scientist, especially at that level.
Yep.
But it's amazing how often, you can say, oh, someone asked me this question, or where can I find about them? And often
Mm-hmm.
there will be someone at the other end of the email be like, ah, okay, this is this stuff. This is a
Yeah.
specimen from here. You can
Yeah.
find out. And it's like, great,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really cool place to work in that
Yeah.
regard. Yeah.
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 Good.
We are going to be finishing in a few minutes, but I didn't want to finish without asking you about AI because I'm sure you talk about it, consider it plenty. What's your current take on the matter? We had a guest last week, Claire White, who had a very she's got some work now, training AI models.
Mm.
Obviously in the tech for good sense, as we understand it. But yeah. So what's your take on it and your kind of looking forward? How do you think it's going to pan out for us?
Mm. I think I think as has actually been the case with a lot of technology over the past decade. In like I think there is so much potential. And I just think as and it feels like as always, the money people got involved a bit too early
Mm,
because in many ways, even the stuff like, like Claude and all of this, even at its best, it in many ways to me it still feels like half-baked bread in a sense. There's just something, some of it I definitely can say, oh, this is what's missing. Some of it, you can tell there isn't quite a real purpose to it.
mm,
Or if perhaps sometimes I think the actual purpose is so mundane and banal that nobody wants to say because
Yeah.
otherwise then you can't hype it up. I think whenever I've spoken to people who find it really, really useful, actually the thing to me always it's like, yeah, but it's not really it's not the AI, it's the whole product. Do you know what I mean? It's in the
Mm-hmm.
same way as like no one would like gush over like Word doc anymore. And there's something kind of like interesting to me about how
Yeah.
AI at its best is actually quite banal. As
mm,
Mm-hmm.
weird as that sounds about something
Mm-hmm.
that's actually really an incredible paradigm shifter,
Mm-hmm.
it's still basically something that, yeah. Anyway, so I think so. A lot of what I feel actually about AI is like a kind of disappointment, as is what I felt about a lot of the hyped technologies that have come up over the past 10 years. It really feels like the way the industry gets money to do really interesting technology has meant that they all get overhyped
Mm-hmm.
way too quickly. You found that with NFTs, like I think some of the underlying technology and the underlying ideas
Yeah.
behind NFTs were
Also with
actually
also with the metaverse as
yeah, I
well.
actually think it's
Yeah.
really interesting and
Yeah.
genuinely quite
Yeah.
useful. But the minute you have to make as much money as possible to pay back your investors, then it gets silly and things
Mm-hmm.
get overhyped. So
And it
that's
all turns out to be advertising in the end.
that's just the thing.
mm,
And so that's actually where I'm at really with it. Do I think, the whole thing about, taking jobs, giving jobs, I as weird as it sounds to say, because these are also big questions, I think somehow that's also a bit of a red herring. I really do believe in human creativity and human
Mm,
weirdness. I
mm-hmm.
actually think humans find ways of making money, however, like we always do this. I'm not
Yeah.
really too concerned about that. There are obviously the underlying issues of bias and things like that.
Hmm.
But as I
Hmm.
said, that's the kind of stuff that's always existed
Hmm.
in
Mm,
data-centric
Not new.
technologies.
It's not
yeah.
new.
Ditto with the sustainability. And that, again, all of this
Yeah.
really feels, again, it's like a technology that like just wasn't fully cooked before it
Hmm.
was let out. Like it should have
Yeah.
already had a sustainable infrastructure, which we know is
Yeah.
possible through things like Green PT, for example. That didn't come out long after ChatGPT and OpenAI became much more, you know, it really shows that actually it wasn't the most difficult thing to really think, okay, how do we environmentally, in an environmentally friendly way, power this stuff? But
Mm,
they didn't because they just
yeah.
needed to get as much back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Brilliant.
that's a lot of how I feel about it,
Mm,
really.
mm,
Um, what it can do, what it can't do. Again, I think it's all really fascinating, interesting debates, but I often feel they're also quite red herringy type debates. I feel
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
we end up not really thinking about who's making the money from it, who isn't making the money from it. You know, why is it being promised to do something? Like I keep seeing things about how AI can be used in government, and okay, I'm not in government, but I'm in like a public sector organization, and
mm.
I'm like, we can barely find anything in SharePoint. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? It's going to make like, like the
AI that
search.
could make sense of public sector SharePoint would be a
You know
great
what I
thing.
mean? Like, some of the stuff isn't even in SharePoint. Half the stuff gets deleted or like is in a different format. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
you
And
know.
yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. A lot of that conversation I think is very interesting, but I actually think is academically interesting, which is
Mm,
weird because it's
Hmm.
been turned into something that
Hmm.
we should all be really stressed and care about.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Anyway, but
yeah,
yeah.
I wish everybody had the, I mean, tell from, having known you for years and also just the work that you do, you have the confidence to say, the emperor's got no clothes on. And we all have that. And we're always saying we wish other people would have that confidence
mm,
to be able to ask the questions
mm.
that kind of would blow this thing out of the water
I
at the
think
appropriate junctures.
I think the comments that you've made combined with the comments that Claire made last week
Mm,
are really, really interesting,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Really, really interesting.
We must
Yeah.
get somebody to do a
I have to
mashup
say
of the
that
two programs.
as I've edited the show notes as we've gone along, I think we have a record number of links to
Oh.
things we've mentioned in the conversation ever for Dr. Tech's show. We we
Well done, Florence.
We have Afro Futures UK, we have Afro Dino Hack, we have Scratch, we have the Norwich Printing Museum, we have the we've got that twice for some reason. Oh well, that probably we have Mahogany Opera, and we have Green PT, which I had never heard of, but I will be
No, I
looking at.
haven't either. So, oh, by the way, before we finish, NFT, can you explain what that is in a to
Oh
the
wow,
not the non-technical person? No, no, the
you
what
do
it
ask
means,
good
what it
questions.
Yeah.
stands for.
Oh yeah. So
NFT,
Non-fungible
non-fungible
token.
fungible.
tokens.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't quite ask me what the fun
It's
what
it's it's it's
I still
like
We'll have
think
to
of
get pictures
it's
of
like so
yourself.
mushrooms.
many it's like so many of these acronyms. ADSL,
Yeah.
the broadband standard. If you know what A and the D and the S and the L are, you don't know what it means anyway.
Altogether. Yes.
If there's a Wikipedia entry, somebody can send it to us.
Yeah,
Florence, we're going to have to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on the last episode for season 6 of the Dr. Tech Show. You were a delight as usual and a joy.
great.
We will include your contact details in the show notes for people to follow up with them. I'm
LinkedIn
sure they
page.
will. The LinkedIn page, yeah. And please rejoin us on the show again
Yes.
at some stage in the future. We will be launching season 7 later in the autumn, so we look forward to more of this great work that you do.
So I didn't say at the beginning, but we'll now switch our cameras and audio off, and then stop the recording. But don't go away because we'll come back and have a debrief at the end.
Thanks very much, Florence.
All
Okay,
right. Thank you
thanks
both.
everybody. See you the next time. Bye.
Bye.